Oil production that depends on use of the strait risks coming to a complete halt within the next month. It has already begun to decline. If European companies and European buyers suddenly decide to reorient themselves and offer us long-term, stable cooperation that is free from political circumstances, then please, we have never refused. We are ready to work with the Europeans. I have asked you to come together today to discuss the situation developing in global energy markets, particularly in the energy sector. I would like to hear your views on current events and consult with you on how we can coordinate the efforts of the state and our private companies in response to these developments. In this regard, we will discuss Russia's further actions in the global energy sphere as a whole, including in light of the escalation of the situation, as we see it, in the Middle Eastern direction. Russia has repeatedly, and I want to stress this straight away, warned that attempts to destabilize the situation in the Middle East will inevitably threaten the global fuel and energy complex. They will drive up prices for oil and gas, constrain the supply of these resources worldwide, and inevitably disrupt long-term investment plans. It appears that this is exactly what is now happening. Today we are seeing logistical problems along hydrocarbon transportation routes, and we see that this is having a very negative impact on global production and global supply chains. It affects industry and, without any exaggeration, the entire system of international economic relations, because disruptions in supply lead to other, purely economic problems. Inflation rises, and production suffers, not only oil and gas production, but also the output of industrial goods. I would like to remind you that last year about a third of the world's seaborne oil exports, roughly 14 million barrels per day, passed through the Strait of Hormuz. About 80% of that volume was destined for Asia-Pacific countries. Now this route is virtually closed. Oil production that depends on use of the strait risks coming to a complete halt within the next month. It has already begun to decline. Storage facilities in the region are filling up with oil that cannot be exported, or that can only be exported with great difficulty or at very high cost. Obviously, a complete rerouting of Middle Eastern oil supplies without using the Strait of Hormuz is, at present, unrealistic, at least for now. Changing logistics will not only take a long time, it will also require substantial expenditure on infrastructure, the expansion of marine terminals, and so on. And, of course, all of this will be associated with significant political risks, which have not gone away. Consumers need oil today. As a result, global oil prices are rising. We can clearly observe this. Over just the past week, they have increased by more than 30%. I checked today at 5:30 a.m. Moscow time. The price had already reached more than $119 per barrel, then it was 107, 109, 106, and now, I believe, it is hovering around 103. But there are ongoing fluctuations, and the trend is not downward, but upward. A similar situation is unfolding in the global gas market. Supplies of liquefied natural gas from the Middle East have sharply decreased. Production capacity in the region has fallen, and it will take weeks, if not months, to restore it. Rapid compensation for the missing volumes is impossible. As a result, global gas prices are also rising, arguably even faster than oil prices. What would I like to emphasize in this regard? Under current conditions, competition among buyers for energy resource suppliers, for stable and predictable deliveries of oil and gas, is intensifying. In this context, I cannot fail to note, and to remind not only those colleagues present here but all of our consumers, that Russian energy companies have always been distinguished by their reliability. It is clear that, given the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, global energy logistics will change in favor of more advantageous and promising markets. At the same time, it is important to understand that today's elevated raw material prices are undoubtedly temporary. We understand this. It is obvious, and we must proceed from that understanding. That is precisely why I have asked you to meet and to discuss how we should coordinate our actions in the near future. The change in the balance of supply and demand for hydrocarbons will inevitably lead to a new, stable price reality. Therefore, it is important for Russian energy companies to make use of the current moment, including by directing additional export revenues to reduce their debt burden, including debts to domestic banks. Dear colleagues, I would especially like to draw your attention to this. I am asking the government and the central bank to take this process under their control. Let me once again underline, Russia has always been, and remains, a reliable supplier of energy resources. That has always been the case. We will, of course, continue to supply oil and gas to those countries that themselves are reliable counterparties. And by that I mean not only our partners in the Asia-Pacific region, but also certain Eastern European states, such as Slovakia and Hungary. Even now, my colleagues informed me before this broader meeting that we are increasing supplies to our reliable partners in several regions of the world. At the same time, I would like to remind you that the European Union countries are planning to introduce additional restrictions on the purchase of Russian hydrocarbons, including liquefied natural gas, starting on April 25, up to a complete ban on such supplies in 2027. In this regard, the government has already been instructed to assess the possibility and feasibility of stopping the supply of our energy resources to the European market ourselves, rather than waiting until the door is demonstratively slammed in our faces, and to do so now, diverting these volumes from the European market to more attractive destinations and, most importantly, establishing a firm presence there. The current situation is such that if we reorient right now toward those markets that need increased supplies, we can gain and secure a foothold there. I mean in countries where there is stable, long-term demand and reliable, long-term relationships, in countries that are building constructive business relations with Russia. Incidentally, I asked you to come here to discuss all these issues. If European companies and European buyers suddenly decide to reorient themselves and offer us long-term, stable cooperation that is free from political circumstances, then please, we have never refused. We are ready to work with the Europeans. But we need some signals from them that they are ready and also wish to work, and that they will provide us with this sustainability and stability. The government is also keeping these issues under control. I hope that we will now discuss all these matters with you in detail.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.